John Clemmy here, coming to you from our new location at 22 Rue des Grottes in Geneva. We're going to talk to you today about the Jura Tour. The Jura Tour is a new road bike tour that we have. It's our longest, most challenging tour, taking you over the Jura Mountains for some 700 kilometers plus, climbing every day. So it's a tour that you certainly need to be prepared to do. That said, if you think you have what it takes, you can join us in June. We're going to be starting in Geneva. We're going to be heading towards Basel through the Jura Mountains on the Swiss side, taking 4 days to cycle to Basel, reaching Basel, and then taking a well-deserved day off in Basel to see the city, etc. So when we get to Basel, we take a breather, spend 2 nights there, and then we're making a loop. So once we hit Basel, we come back to Geneva, taking 5 days on the French side. So you're going to be going through 2 different countries, 2 different linguistic regions, and you'll be in a region of France and Switzerland that seldom people get to. Other than the people living in the region, very few people make it to the Jura. When people think of Switzerland, they think of France, they probably think of the Alps or the Pyrenees. And so what you don't have in the Jura is a lot of traffic, a lot of tourists, a lot of big hotels. What you do have are villages, small family-run auberge, inns, small hotels, and you have a kind of authenticity in both the French and Swiss parts that you probably would be hard-pressed to find if you were doing the same kind of trip in the Alps. So we really wanted to show people that the Jura is there to begin with, since few people know about it, and then to explore it in a way that it deserves to be explored on a road bike for 9 days, climbing up and down and doing a big loop to see both sides of the mountain range. So that's in June. We're going to go over the tour a little bit now, day by day, and see if it's something that you'd like to do with us. Day 1 is arrival day, so we pick you up at the airport or you come in by train. We bring you to your 4-star hotel right next to the bike shop. After that, we fit you with your bike, and then you're off to explore Geneva before meeting back around 6 o'clock in the evening for a light supper and wine tasting before we go back to the hotel and turn in early for a long day tomorrow. It's day 2, our first day of riding. So we get up early, we walk to the shop, we get our bikes, we go to a park next door, have a bit of a conference about what's going on that day, and then we all head out as a group on the lake road. We go north. At that point, we're going to be in some pretty dense forests, climbing through the forest 10, 12 kilometers. When we finally make it out of the forest, as we ride through there, we'll make a descent, and on the Lac de Joux is a nice little hotel where we're going to be spending our first night on the road. It's your second day of riding today, and you're going to get up, look out the window, see the Lac de Joux, see the mountains in the back, see the pasture land, and you're not going to see a lot else. You're going to begin to appreciate the fact that there are not a lot of people up here, not a lot of tourists, not a lot of Swiss people. That's because you're in the Jura, and the Jura doesn't have a developed train network like the rest of Switzerland, not a lot of roads, and so you're in a privileged situation being so close to nature in Switzerland without a lot of traffic, a lot of infrastructure to distract from that. And so when you're riding today, keep that in mind, but also keep in mind that this is one of the most famous regions of Switzerland, famous for its watchmaking. You have Piguet, Blancpain, Breguet, all of the famous names in watchmaking have their workshops up here, and you're going to be going past them. We don't have time to stop and visit, however, because we have a lot of riding to do. In fact, we have 75 kilometers, 850 meters of climbing. When we leave the hotel, after about 10 or 15 kilometers, we're going to make a 250 meter descent into Val-Orbe. And then shortly thereafter, we have our major climb, the climb of the Col d'Aiguillon. That's 750, 800 meters of climbing in the space of just 5 kilometers. And so once that's over with, we have clear sailing. It's all downhill more or less until our destination in Couvet. It's your 4th day, your 3rd day of riding, and you're going to start with a good climb outside of Couvet. After that, things are going to level off somewhat. We'll be up high, and you'll notice that the environment is changing. It's going to be a little cooler. We want to have arm warmers and leg warmers with us in case the sun goes behind a cloud. Otherwise, another thing you'll notice is that there are quite a few cows up here. That's right, a lot more cows than people. That's going to change too, though, because after kilometer after kilometer, we're going to be approaching Saignlegier. Saignlegier is important and famous for its annual horse fair, and so you have lots and lots of people raising horses on the farms around here. And in fact, you'll have the opportunity to sample some horse meat this evening in the form of a steak or a sausage, or of course we always have a vegetarian option, so that's not a problem. We're also very lucky to be sleeping and staying in a great facility overlooking all of Saignlegier this evening. You'll have access to indoor pool, outdoor jacuzzi, sauna, and even a skating rink in the middle of summer. It's day 5, your 4th day on the bike. When you leave Saignlegier this morning, you're going to be in love with the riding. It's almost effortless. You're going to have little hills up and down. It'll feel like you're flying through the countryside, green vistas all around you. And then you really will be flying because you're going to have a very steep 5-kilometer descent down to the medieval village of Saint-Ursanne. And Saint-Ursanne is amazing. It's a very, very well-preserved medieval village with a cloister, a church. You have lots of stone walls, a castle, a hermitage, a little chapel. And so we'll get off our bikes, of course, and have a walk around a piece of cake, and then maybe 2 pieces of cake, because that long descent is now going to be replaced by a very hard climb out of the valley. And once we make it to the top, of course, we'll be paid back by some amazing views. And then the rest of the day is going to be interesting in that we're making the transition between the French part of Switzerland and the German part of Switzerland. And you'll see that on the signs, you'll see that in the architecture, and also you're going to see the transition between town and country, right? Because here in the Jura, we were in the middle of nowhere, and we're going to be slowly moving through and seeing forest and then pastures, and then after that villages and the city outskirts. And when you get to Basel, you're in a very large metropolitan, cosmopolitan city, and you're going to be glad you're there. Your legs are going to be tired. You'll want a bit of city life, and so we're going to spend 2 nights here in Basel. Make sure we get the most out of our visit. It's day 6, you wake up in Basel, and you don't have to wake up early, you don't have to get on a bike. The day is yours to explore the city and do what you like. Lots of possibilities in this city of 200,000. You have different contemporary art museums, you have a museum of design, you have a zoo, a huge sandstone cathedral, a cartoon museum, and you have a wonderful river, the Rhine, going through town. You can just sit back on the terrace there, watch the boats go by. You're on your own for supper this evening, and then tomorrow morning we'll meet each other downstairs and get back on the road, this time on the French side. It's day 7. You've just had 4 days of cycling, now a day off. You've done 300 kilometers, and you're probably wanting to get back out there and see some of France. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We leave Basel, make our way into France right away, then back into Switzerland, and then France again. We have some climbing, but then at the end of the day, we have a long, steep descent back down to the River Doux. We'll be spending the night in a little medieval town called Hippolyte. We have a little auberge right at the edge of town, and then we'll be eating at a little French restaurant right at the river's edge before turning in early for a hard day of cycling tomorrow. Day 8. We wake up, get on the bikes, and then it's a long, hard slog out of the little town of Hippolyte. But once that initial climb is over, it's pretty smooth sailing. We're going to be going through lots of forests, through lots of pasture land, and so you're going to see lots of trees and lots of cows, of course, and no wonder. The two main industries here are forestry, and so you'll be seeing lots of lumber yards, cabinet workshops, furniture workshops, and then you'll see a lot of cows, so there's a lot of cheese making going on here. You have many of the famous French cheeses. You have Bleu de Gex, Morbier, Comté. All of these cheeses have the coveted AOC appellation, and so we'll be tasting all of those as we go through the countryside as well. Tonight, we're going to be spending our overnight at a very, very small village population, 40 inhabitants. The name of the town is Luisans. People, however, come from miles around to this little auberge because they serve great food with very, very comfortable beds. Good morning, it's day 9, and waking up in Luisans is very special. Not only do you have the stereotypical rooster and church bells, but you have chickens clucking right outside the door. They all have names, and you're probably going to be eating their very eggs at breakfast this morning. And that whole very rural experience is going to continue all day today, from one hamlet to the next. You'll see smoke coming out of chimneys, old women puttering in their gardens, men going about their business on the farm. This will continue until we get to the town of Pontarlier, which is a good-sized French city, not far from our final destination. Our final destination is in a beautiful Belle Époque hotel right on France's fourth largest lake, Lake Saint-Point. And so today is a short day, but that's fine because the hotel is comfortable, the grounds are lovely, the lake is splendid. Put on your bathing suit, take a swim, take another bike ride, walk the shores. Whatever you do, make sure you come back for supper because tonight we're having a very splendid dinner in the beautiful mirrored dining room on the first floor of the hotel. Day 10, this is the day that you've been training for. It's a long 100-kilometer day with 1,400 meters of climbing. You're going to be going down into some very deep valleys into the industrial towns of Morbier and Moret, and you won't want to be staying there. You want to get out of those little valleys, but doing that will require you to do some pretty tough climbs. But once you get out of those valleys, we continue riding, and so we go up and up and up until we get to around 1,300 meters, and once you're up that high, you're at the top of the Jura. Everything is different. The pasture has a different texture. The fog starts rolling in. It's like you're on another planet. It's day 11 of the Jura Tour, your last day, and although it's very long, around a 90-kilometer day, it's almost entirely downhill. And so we're going to be high up in the Jura, around 1,200 meters, and then beginning at around kilometer 20, we'll start a steep descent down to the industrial city of Bellegarde. From Bellegarde, it's another 15 kilometers until we reach the canton of Geneva, and up there, of course, we're in Switzerland. Once you're in Switzerland, you'll discover a bit of the canton. To see what the canton is like, you'll see that there's lots of vineyards, lots of agriculture, produce farming. We'll soon get to the outskirts of Geneva, make our way through town, leave your bikes at the shop, and then of course you'll go back to the hotel to get cleaned up before meeting back for some celebratory drinks on the lake and a nice last supper with the group. At this point, you've seen the itinerary and the different days, and you might be asking yourself, do I have the level to do this tour with you guys? Well, maybe. There's a few things to consider. First of all, you need to be spending between 5 and 7 hours a day on your bike for almost 9 consecutive days. Secondly, keep in mind that you're going to be doing some climbing. Again, these are not the Alps nor the Pyrenees, and so these climbs may not be intimidating to riders around here, but if you're from a region that's flat or just a little hilly, then these might be the first serious climbs that you've done, and so you need to be prepared for those. Again, we understand that you're not able to prepare on the hills perhaps, but you need to at least prepare mentally. The fact that all of our bikes have 3 chain rings and are kitted out to do these kind of climbs should make you feel at least comfortable about attempting them. And finally, you need to think about your conditioning. Anyone who does 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers a year is probably at a good place for this tour. Again, you don't necessarily have to have that kind of conditioning, but you're going to enjoy the tour a lot more if you do, and the better shape you're in, of course, the more enjoyable the tour will be. All of the information that you've seen here today, as well as profile charts, can be found on our website. So if you're considering doing a tour and you have some questions, feel free to contact us through the website. I hope to hear from you soon.